Okay, so welcome back to Delicious Gardens. Today our feature we're going to do is on preparing a garden bed. So we've got a really good example here of a garden bed that hasn't been used for probably about 10 years. So the soil hasn't had nothing added to it, no attention. There's plenty of kikuyu and other weeds growing through it, got some agapanthus over there. We want to turn this into a vibrant, healthy garden bed, something we can make something of. So we could grow vegetables in it, we could grow any number of plants, trees, shrubs, ornamentals, whatever we'd like. So how are we going to do that? Because most people, they get a bit stuck when it comes to growing a really nice healthy garden bed, and it's pretty key ingredients that are very, very simple. So first of all, we're going to dig through this garden bed, and I'll show you in a second how we're going to do that. After we've done our first dig over, we're going to add some carbon rich things. So good examples of carbon are lawn clippings or any sort of straw that's going to add carbon to our soil. That's going to make really good example of things that worms can eat and microorganisms can eat down. So that's starting our food chain for our garden bed. We're also going to add manure. So here we've got some well rotted down horse manure. I don't know if you can see that too well on the camera there, but it's dried, it's not fresh. It's dried, it's spent about 6 months just sitting there, and it's all really good stuff. This is very important in your garden. It's going to create a bit of nitrogen. It's also going to create, again, that carbon for worms, microorganisms to start building up in the soil. That's what's going to start making this a very vibrant, healthy soil. We're also going to add some nitrogen, and in this case we're just using normal chicken pellets or poultry manure. Okay, there's various brands on the market for doing that, your choice really, and we'll just spread that through when we do our second dig. Then at the end, once we've dug the garden bed over, we've added our carbon and our nitrogen and our poultry manure, we're then going to put a really thick layer of mulch over the top of it. Now in this case I'm just using some form of straw. We're going to make that look like a doona. So dig it over, add the carbon, put this as a blanket on the top, and then we can do whatever we want with it, and you've got the ingredients for an absolutely excellent, nice, healthy garden bed. So just as a bit of an example, this is our 10-year-old dirt that's never been tilled over, and here's me on the shovel. Okay, so that's me standing on the shovel trying to get the shovel into the ground. Pretty good indication that things aren't really great here. Okay, so that is really well compacted dirt. Okay, so let's start going through and turning this over, and let's see what our end product ends up looking like. So here we are, we've done our first initial dig over. That took us a little bit of time because the soil was so hard, so that probably was about half an hour's work there of turning it over. You might have seen me in the video before using this mechanism here. It's just a broad fork. You can buy them from various people, but you need something that's really sturdy because this thing creates a lot of leverage when you lean back on it. The tines on the end are solid steel and they're very pointy on the end. You could do a lot of damage to your toes if you ran that through your toes. It's very good at breaking up this sort of dirt. Okay, so now we've done our first dig over. We're going to go about to do our second dig over, but this is when we add all that carbon stuff. So I'll show you. I said before, we've got a whole bin here of old rotten horse manure, and we're going to chuck that on, spread it over. It's already got a few worms in it, which is fantastic. So we've got that. That's good. Then these are just some old lawn clippings that have been sitting in a pile for a while, so they're pretty dried out. Again, it's all food for those microorganisms and ecosystems that are building the soil, which wasn't here before. So all those grass clippings all get mixed through. I've been over to the chook pen and I've pulled out the bottom of the chook bin some straw and lovely old stuff. That's all been broken down again. A bit more of that. And you can't get enough of this stuff. The poultry manure, you know, there's lots of different names it comes under. We're going to lather that stuff on. It's all going to get, so when we turn that over, hopefully it'll be well spread throughout the garden bed. And there we go. Now it's just a matter of working it over again, and we'll get it hopefully down so it's much easier to break up than it was originally. So let's have a go now at breaking it over, turning it over, sorry, and seeing where we get. So we're trying to mix all that stuff through. Okay, so we've done a pretty good job of mixing everything through. There's still a few bits of weeds that are left on the top, so there's a bit of kikuyu grass, a few of these original plants. We'll just throw those ones out that are on the top, and then we just want to give it a bit of a rough raking over the top. Any big sods that are left, rake them up. Alright, so we've given it a good rake over. It's smooth but not perfectly smooth or flat, and we're ready to lay a mulch on. So I've done a really good job of mixing all that organic matter through, and oh look, here we go, nice little worm there. And the idea with mixing it through is you've distributed the nitrogen evenly, you've distributed the mulch evenly, and so these little fellas are going to go through and break everything down and turn that into a lovely medium to grow lots and lots of different types of plants. It might have looked a little bit difficult, but the end result is fantastic. So I've dug all that over, and there's all sorts of weeds and seeds in there that are going to come up unless we add a mulch layer. So you can use any mulch you want. I prefer to use some sort of dead straw material, but you could use bark chip, you could use all sorts of things, just as long as they're not fresh green stuff. So something that's really died and decayed a little bit. So I've got some old hay here. Sorry, old straw, it's not hay, and I just lay that out, a nice thick layer. I tend to think about the doona on your bed, having it that sort of thickness, like a doona thickness is really good, and that'll mean that less weeds are likely to come up in your garden, because we don't want to be spending all day pulling the weeds out of our garden. So add this nice mulch layer down, fill in all the little gaps there beside the rocks, and once you've done that, give it a bit of a water down so the wind doesn't blow it away. This is really important, a nice thick layer of mulch. 1, it keeps the soil moisture in. 2, it keeps the weeds out. And 3, which you don't often think about, is all those little microorganisms under there are nice and safe and protected. So there's lots of birds and other things that will come along and eat them. So if I was to leave this on here for a couple of months and I parted the layers back, you would see the worms right on the surface working away. So they're doing the best job that they can in this garden bed. So that's it, how to create an ideal garden bed. Obviously, if we're going to get right into it, we would do a soil test and we would figure out the deficiencies we had in the soil. But for the basic gardener, that was a really good idea about getting a really nice, well set up garden bed. So just to follow on from that, I thought I'd quickly bring you over here. Here's a garden bed that we did 3 months ago. It's got nothing growing at the moment. We've got these beautiful green feast peas coming up this gate behind us, but it's a good example of what happens after you've done something. So same conditions, rock hard, nothing had been put into it, and we dug it over. So we removed this mulch layer like we had over there. So not terribly thick like it was over there. We'll remove it back, and you can see, just get the shovel in there, you can see, I don't know if you can see the life there. The worms are coming out everywhere, whereas over there when we dug it the first time, there were no worms coming out. So they're working away at turning that soil over. And as you can see, there are no weeds. I haven't done any weeding, I haven't used any chemicals, any herbicides. I've just put this thick layer of mulch down, and that's done the job. So I hope you have the same success in your garden.